a tweet today from the Department of the Interior has today announced a historic consensus-based conservation proposal to protect the Colorado River Basin. Funding from POTUS Investing in America agenda and voluntary commitments will conserve 3 million acre-feet of water through 2026. This is certainly a major news as they broke through and potentially have this proposal in place. I want to bring in now Dr. Elizabeth Koebele from the University of Nevada, Reno, of course, studying those water governance around the Colorado River. This was a big deal today. Give us a little bit of breakdown of what the proposal entails and how this is important for the southwestern United States.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me on today. The Colorado River has been in peril for the last 2 decades as we've experienced reduced snowpacks and overuse of that water in our reservoirs. And this proposal is the result of work between the 7 basin states that use the Colorado River to come together to develop a plan to cut their water use in the short term. So one thing that I think is really important about this plan is that it's a proposal for cutting water use as an emergency measure in the next 3 years. We still have a long way to go to figure out how to do this permanently, but it gives us somewhere to go in the meantime. And the real core of the plan, that saving 3 million acre feet, is that the federal government will pay for about 2/3 of this by funding voluntary conservation. So essentially, water users will submit plans likely to say how they would conserve water. Maybe that's following their field, maybe that's doing infrastructure efficiency upgrades, and they'll get paid in exchange for that to help save water in the Colorado River Basin.
And obviously, when you say this, where does that money come from? Because I heard it from the new Inflation Reduction Act. Maybe where's that coming from, and how do people kind of get that after all?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it is from the Inflation Reduction Act. We're estimated to see about $1 billion to $1.2 billion to fund this program if it's passed. And I think that's a really core piece of this. This is just one proposal. The Bureau of Reclamation submitted 2 other proposals for consideration about a month ago. And they really encouraged the 7 basin states to come up with a consensus proposal because it's a lot easier to implement policy when the folks implementing it have already reached consensus and agree, right? Yeah. And those 2 proposals that they submitted or they put out there were really kind of bookend proposals. They sort of gave us kind of the worst case scenario and the status quo scenario and said, hey, states, find something in between. So this proposal is now going to go through a full analysis with the Bureau of Reclamation. There's going to be an opportunity for public comment, just like there were on the other 2 proposals. And then if it goes forward, we'll figure out kind of how to implement it. But fortunately, we've done this thing in the Colorado River Basin before. We've done this kind of compensated conservation. So we have some programs that we can rely on to figure out how to best implement it.
So there's some experience there. And I do have to ask you, because last summer we saw a lot of pictures of Lake Mead, of the Hoover Dam being so very low. But then we also talked about this winter with snowpack in the mountains there in the Sierra Nevadas and all those mountains with the heavy snowpack. Maybe when people think about that, they're like, hey, like we might be a little bit out of the drought. That's not the case, is it?
Yeah, you're correct there. The Colorado River Basin receives most of their water from the Rocky Mountains, and although the Rockies got above average snowpack, we're certainly not out of the drought. Our 2 major reservoirs were only about a quarter full, and we maybe expect those to get more of a boost than we would in a normal year. But for the most part, we're still going to have to do some deep conservation to figure out how to make the Colorado River Basin sustainable into the future.
And sustainability is a big factor in this, and obviously there are multiple states involved in all of this. I want to put up a tweet from the Office of the Governor of California as California stepped up to make significant cuts to water usage and how we offer a solution to protect the Colorado River and our partners. Maybe how big of a factor is California? Because in maybe previous proposals, they weren't necessarily a huge part of this. How big of a part of it is California being such a big state, such an important factor for this proposal?
Yeah, California is the biggest water user on the Colorado River. They have the largest allocation. It's 4.4 million acre feet. And we like to use this term in Western water. That can be a little confusing, but an acre foot is just 1 acre of land about the size of a football field, covered 1 foot deep in water. And it provides enough water for about 2 to 3 single family households for a year. And so it's a lot of water when we're talking about 4.4 million acre feet out of about 15 total that are allocated across the US basin states. So getting California to sign on was a really important part of this. Part of the reason they were resistant or a little bit hesitant to some of the prior deals that were pitched was really because they have some of the most senior water rights, which means that in times of shortage, they're the last to be forced to take cuts. And so they were really relying on their legal rights to not have to take cuts sooner than later. But I think it's really important that the states have come together collectively and worked collaboratively to come up with this deal, especially in the short term, to avoid this emergency.
And you mentioned short term because 2026, in a lot of people's mind, not that far away. Would a longer term deal be better, or is the short term maybe the only way to go right now as we continue to deal with all of these changing climate models and changing things with the Colorado River?
Yeah, it's actually really dependent on the processes, the policy processes that we use in the Colorado River Basin. So back in 2007, we set out guidelines for the next 20 years, and we are still working under those guidelines. And this is actually just a process to supplement or amend those guidelines to get us through the end of that 20-year period. After that, we have a lot more policy levers that we can play with on the table. The states are about to enter what I expect to be a multi-year negotiation to come up with a plan from 2026 to potentially the next 20 years after that.
That is so very interesting. Dr. Elizabeth Koebele, thank you so much for joining us. Any parting words, any other tidbits that we missed out on that you want to make sure our audience knows before I let you go?
I think it's really important that we start thinking about how to make some of these conservation measures in this short-term plan stick for the long term. So anything we can do to fund permanent conservation, infrastructure upgrades, those sorts of things now, I think is going to be really important, and it's going to make those negotiations easier in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for providing some insight into this very complicated deal, but very important deal as well. We appreciate your time, as always, here on Live Now.
Great. Thanks for having me today.